Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the DLF Trade Show on the DLF YouTube channel. It is the non-point scoring season. It is the dark times.
Depending on how you look at it.
Well, yeah. Black Monday has come and gone. In case that's new terminology for you, Black Monday is the Monday after the season when coaches just start dropping like flies. And at like 12:02 a.m., like surprised they let this man on the bus on the way home from the game or even back in the locker room after the game. But fantasy managers everywhere's prayers have been answered. Arthur Smith is no longer the coach of the Atlanta Falcons. And like usually we say like, oh, I don't like to root for anyone to lose their job. The man is a millionaire, son of billionaires. He'll be fine. So we could be a little happy he lost.
we can be happy when they have multiple top 10 NFL draft picks that are highly valued for fantasy and dynasty that were underutilized. We can be happy.
So like I know there's a lot of wet blankets out there where everyone's like, all right, don't celebrate just yet. It could get worse. Can it?
I guess
here's my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like it even came down to the brass saying you're not using our players. Like you have to believe, even if they bring in someone like Vrabel or a defensive-minded head coach, their first question is going to be, we have these three things named Bijan, Drake, and Kyle. What are you going to do with them? Like that should be the first thing out of their mouth. No, hey, how's your day? How was your flight? Bijan, Drake, Kyle.
I could see if there is an argument for if you think that all three of them can't be boosted by this, like a new offensive coordinator comes in and he really heavily uses Bijan Robinson, really heavily uses Drake London. So then Kyle Pitts is kind of like the odd man out, or vice versa. They really focus on the pass game and then London and Pitts are good, but Bijan is just kind of like a weird nebulous little, like not going to reach the top three running back ceiling. There might be a way where one of these guys becomes the odd man out. I have my pick on who that one would be. But I mean, this has to be a good thing for at least two, if not three of these guys, all three of them.
I mean, it isn't every offense that can support three very fantasy viable options in general. And they don't have a quarterback, they don't have a coach, they don't have an offensive things are gonna have to fall in place for all of them to be great. But like you have to be optimistic. That's really what I'm trying to get at. Like there's no reason to wet blanket this right now. Just let people be happy.
Yeah.
So we're starting at the top. We are starting at who is still a lot of people's running back one. He's probably my running back one. Well, I mean, clearly we're talking about Bijan Robinson, but like, is he your running back one?
Yeah, it's a tier
of
him, Gibbs, and Breece Hall.
That's what I'm finding. Like, I always want, like, Breece Hall is my number two, and it's like, if he just wasn't on the Jets. But, like, if Rodgers comes in, Rodgers stays healthy for, like, 2 games, like, I'll probably throw Breece up top if the Falcons don't, like we said, if only, like, maybe the new guy that comes in never runs the ball, doesn't throw to Breece or something, to Bijan. Like, I'll throw Breece up there. Like, they're, like you said, it's a tier. And Gibbs showed. Gibbs,
he's just good. It's Alvin Kamara all over again. He's just good.
much better than I expected. So yeah, I'll allow that also. But let's go to the trades. Let's see how we really feel about it. 12-team Superflex, Bijan, and a late 24 first for Jared Goff, DJ Moore, and Rachaad White. Bijan Robinson 775. The late first is 219 for a total of 995. Goff 355, DJ Moore 303, Rachaad White 185 for a total of 842. I feel like this is pretty easily Bijan to me. A late first in DJ Moore, even though DJ Moore is, I love the value on DJ Moore at 302.5 and a late first being at 219, but that's kind of a scratch to me, depending how late. Like if it's 10 or 12, probably not. But if it's like,
It's 10.
Is it?
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah. So late first and Rashad White scratch off, or is that too far
That's
away?
what I did in my head. Was I just basically scratched
Yeah.
off the first and White.
And then if you have that team that has a lot of depth and you want to put some studs on your team, like let's say this is start 8 or 9, I'm so easily sending Goff and DJ Moore for Bijan. And then you get to re-roll that late first into who's probably going to be a younger wide receiver instead of a running back.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good way to look at it. Is it definitely depends on how many people are starting for you in the starting lineup. Because if it shies towards you need the more higher powered elite players, that shies you more towards Bijan, and you get the first on top of it too to get a, like you said, like a dice roll basically on maybe another elite player. If you hit on that guy, then that would be phenomenal. I think the argument for the Jared Goff side would be you just want to break down Bijan into multiple different assets that can start for you every single week in a start 10, start 11 type of format.
Yeah.
Goff
And these
probably
are good
profiles more
players.
as a 3. Yeah.
Like these are good players to get. The problem is none of them will have dynasty value for much. Like Bijan is absolutely safe dynasty wise. Like he's going to get a decent cushion for at least this season. The late first is just going to go up in value till it's draft time, and Goff is probably safe, but he's never going to have his value is never going to go up.
No.
Like he just is what he is at this point. DJ Moore, who was like the wide receiver 4 on the not 4, like 8 or 9 on the season, still his value is not going to go up. Still only 26, he'll be 27 next season. To me, he's eternally 23. And Rashad White is just a running back on a mediocre team, even though he did really, really well. That's not to put anything down on Rashad White. It's just the truth about dynasty value. To me, this is very easily Bijan in a first. Like this is 3-4 months ago. You don't need that first. You can get this easily for Bijan. And I don't think things got ruined that bad. So very easily Bijan in the first. Next trade. All right. Let's hear from Addison on this one. Bijan at 775.4 for Travis Etienne and a 24 early second. Etienne 447, the early second 130 for a total of 576. So
that's the 2.02 to we don't have exact picks in there yet, so I had to pick the earlier, the late. So that is 2.02.
We need this. We need this.
I think it kicks in February, maybe once we get rookies in ADP.
That's usually
yeah. But 2.02 and ETN for Bijan. Yeah, I thought this was really interesting because I think that this shows the difference in the gaps between the tiers at the top of the running back rankings right now for Dynasty. Because I feel like most people would consider ETN to be a top 5 Dynasty running back, 6 or 7 at the absolute worst, because if depending on how you value CMC's age or Jonathan Taylor, or
about to say age at this point is such a deciding factor with running backs right now. That 24-year-old who came off a pretty good season is probably still pretty up there.
Yeah. To me, I think that the gap between ETN and Bijan Robinson is higher than the 2.02. I would need that to be a first. It could even be the 110, just like how the last trade's first was the 110. That extra 4 spots may not seem like a lot, but as of right now, when you're just seeing a 1 versus a 2, you're always going to want the 1. And a lot of times too, we see tier breaks in the first 9, 10, or 11 picks in the rookie drafts. And then after that tier break is just a massive drop off in talent for a lot of players that just feel very, very identical. It's kind of like what happened in this past 2023 draft. Is like once you got past the 4 first round wide receivers and Dalton Kincaid, you're kind of like, I don't really know what to do here. So that bump up in 4 or 5 picks could be a lot by the time we actually get into rookie drafts in May. So that's the difference, I think, for me. I would take Bijan Robinson in this. This is not enough for me to tier down to ETN.
Total points, ETN was the RB2.
I believe it. He stayed healthy.
He didn't miss the game.
He scored touchdowns. Enough touchdowns.
Yeah, he just had a lot of rough games after that 2 touchdown a game streak stopped, and that scared me a bit.
Lawrence was injured for a lot of that too, though. It was kind of like the Cincinnati Bengals offense where you're like, well, he kind of gets a pass because the main driving factor was injured for a lot.
Yeah.
But you would think that on the flip side of that, you'd be like, well, why wouldn't you lean more into Travis Etienne?
Yeah, but I don't think the ceiling of ETN really is the ceiling
RB2.
of Bijan Robinson. Like, yeah, like on a normal season, I don't think you're really ever gonna want ETN over Bijan in general. Like, this is probably going to be the anomalous year.
What was he in points per game?
Oh, I clicked away. Hold on. Average 6.
Yeah.
16,
That's great, but
9 points.
if we're assuming that Bijan gets top 5, top 3 points per game,
Yeah.
you know, and could be a potential game breaker for fantasy, where if he finishes at the RB1 overall, that
Yeah.
RB1 is by like, 3 or 4 or 5 points per game, kind of like what Christian McCaffrey has been doing when he's healthy.
Yeah,
That's
like
the
he's 3 points per
expectation for
game.
Bijan.
Christian McCaffrey is 3 points per game over Kyron Williams, who's the RB2, and 6.5 points per game over Alvin Kamara, who is the RB3 in points per game. But like, can we talk about the fact that Kyron Williams was 4 points per game, the RB2?
He was phenomenal.
Yeah, that's pretty freaking good.
Hopefully he stays the starter.
He's got to, right? Like,
I hope so.
All right, but all of this being said, I agree with Addison. It should take more than the 202. Honestly, I think I'm closer to like, I want a single, like it could, again, the one pick, like he said, the 110. I'm like, no, I want a single digit. It could be the 109, but
5 spots up instead of 4.
it's
Yeah.
again, it's really, like, what's the difference between the 112 and the 201? Literally one pick. What's the value difference between the 112 and the 201? A lot more than one pick. All right, so let's talk about Drake London. You want to talk about Drake London?
I love Drake London.
I know you like talking about Drake London. Drake London's actually finished worse than I thought he did. You want to guess what his average points per game listing ranking was?
38.
You're actually pretty close. It's 44.
Oh, slightly worse too. He was at what, like 10.5 or something like that?
Crazily enough. Oh, wait, sorry, 45. He was 38 in total points.
Oh, I see. I knew there was a number there. And
You had it. You had it. Whew. Look at you. Hold on. So he had, and this is also, he bailed the first week of the game. First season of the game. I don't remember that.
Oh yeah, first game of the season, he had a donut, and then
hold on. Let's be nice. Let's be nice. Let's take that out.
Take out the donut.
Take out the donut. Control F, London. All right, that only moved him up to 41. That didn't do too much, but still, it still makes you feel a little better. He's better than that.
Absolutely.
That's all it really is. Like, it's really hard to imagine it getting worse. That being said, 12-team Superflex, Drake London straight up for Jonathan Taylor. Check this out. Drake London, 489.8. Jonathan Taylor, 466.2. Drake London higher in the analyzer than Jonathan Taylor.
That's a little wild. I was kind of surprised by that whenever I first saw it.
Yeah. Hold on. I need to click here. So Jonathan Taylor is in Dynasty, yes. In December ADP, Jonathan Taylor, RB7 at 20th overall, and Control F London, wide receiver 22, 32nd overall. Rankings must be something. And trade values and actual trades must be something to make that flip. Because that's a pretty sizable difference. There's over a full round. I mean, it's like 2 picks, but it's like over a full round apart from each other. Because their actual ADPs is 20 and 33.75, even though their ranks are only 12 apart. Me being me, because I don't like running backs, chances are I am taking Drake London here now. But like, Jonathan Taylor's only going to be 25. Anthony Richardson's coming back. Assuming they're going to re-sign Michael Pittman Jr., right?
I would think so. Yeah, I think that'd be
Like
stupid not to.
after the season he had, you feel like the kind like if that offense just comes back to what it was, Jonathan Taylor is healthy, it's go time. Like I don't think Jonathan Taylor may have the RB1 upside anymore, but like top 5, 10 easily. Like you could see him being Josh Jacobs, right? Like
Mhm.
he might not be what we want Bijan to be. He might not be Kamara, Saquon, like those kinds of players, and he like or fair enough. Jonathan Taylor has finished as the RB1 before, so he might not be that Jonathan Taylor anymore, but he's still going to be a very good fantasy running back. I think the answer here is Jonathan Taylor, but I can't bring myself to trade a young wide receiver for a running back in January.
I also think this is Jonathan Taylor as well too. I mean, this could definitely be a trade that if things go right for Drake London, that definitely look bad in a year from now. you know, even with Jonathan Taylor doing really well, Drake London could explode
Yeah,
if
I mean Drake London's 22, like,
yeah,
and a wide receiver. The dude could have another 10 years in the league. Jonathan Taylor's a running back. He has another 2 years in the league.
yeah.
Like hyperbole, of course, but like, yeah, absolutely. Like dynasty wise, long run, but I mean, I think the trade is fair. I absolutely do.
Mhm.
Like I see this go down. I don't really question it in any way, shape, or form. And if points were being scored, I could easily see this being Jonathan Taylor. I it's January and it's a running back. My brain can't process that too well.
Yeah. I think this is a good honestly, I think this is a kind of a buy low for Jonathan Taylor.
Yes, absolutely is.
So if you're in the hunt for a running back and you have Drake London as like a wide receiver 3 or 4 on your team, this JT would be one of the few running backs that I would be willing to actually do a trade for right now in January.
Next trade is a doozy. Drake London, Brandon Ayuk, and a mid 24 second for Jamar Chase. London for 90. Those are words. Brandon Ayuk for 40, a mid second, 111.4, total of 1040. Jamar Chase, 858.9. So we're doing what we should be doing. 3-1, overpaying a little bit. Best piece on the other side, overpaying a little bit. Okay, so here's what I'm thinking in my head.
Mhm.
Drake London is probably going to finish as a top 24-ish wide receiver this coming season.
Mhm.
Brandon Ayuk is going to finish as a top 24 wide receiver this season.
Mhm.
Mid seconds are nice.
Yeah.
If you could tell me that 50% of the weeks, either Drake London or Brandon Ayuk will score the same, if not more, than Jamar Chase, I'd believe you. If you told me that both of them will score within like 80% of Jamar Chase, I'd believe you. All that being said, again, if this is not like a start 8 league, I like getting this package for Jamar Chase. It doesn't have that stud sell feel to it, but I believe in both of these wide receivers. And like me, yeah, of course, you always want picks to be a little earlier. You'd feel great if that was the 202 because of the draft we're in right now. Like there's going like T. Higgins and Michael Pittman, they were drafted at the 201, 202. We're going to have another one of those drafts. Like we're going to have a draft where very good wide receivers are going at the beginning of the second. A lot because there's going to be like probably 3 or 4 quarterbacks being drafted in the first round, if not early second, depending on where JT Daniels and Michael Penix Jr. get drafted in the NFL and all that stuff. So, like again, this doesn't feel like that stud package, but I think it's good.
If you look at the points per game from this past season, and I only took it up to week 15, that was right up to the week that Jamar Chase got hurt, and then didn't really do much after that for the final 2 weeks of the year. But through the first 15 weeks, Jamar Chase was the wide receiver, was a 7, averaging 17.8 fantasy points per game.
That's
Um,
good considering
yeah, Brandon
starting with a
Ayuk is
hurt
down
Burrow and
here.
then going with an actual hurt Burrow and Jake Browning.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, well, he had like that 50 bomb really helps.
Doesn't hurt. Yeah.
But then a couple other, 20 pointers, a 30 pointer in there as well, too. Like he is still
He's still good.
Jamar Chase, you know? Brandon Ayuk is down here at 15 and a half fantasy points. And then it's kind of the what if of Drake London. But if
Yeah.
you look at Drake London this past season in 2023, in the games where he averaged or saw over 7 targets a game, he averaged 14.8 fantasy points per game
Yeah.
in those games, which for reference puts him in the Chris Olave, Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle, Tank Dell range of points per game, just behind Brandon Ayuk. So if that is kind of if you believe that that's the Drake London that we're going to get moving forward with a better quarterback without Arthur Smith acting as the alpha in the Falcons offense, would you be willing to trade, for all intents and purposes, an 18 point per game wide receiver for two 15 point per game wide receivers? And I think I would.
Yeah, right? It doesn't feel like you should like this, but you do.
Right. I usually like these deals. Like, I like to be on the side getting the much better wide receiver or getting like the one singular stud
Yeah.
when it comes to wide receiver trade ups. So I
It's
don't
just
like
these 2
having a
wide
bunch of them.
receivers in general.
Yeah. It's I think if you believe in Drake London, I think that this is a good trade.
Yeah, right? And also, don't get me wrong, like, you're even if you're starting 10 and you just have a lot of depth on your team, I would do this to go get Jamar Chase.
Yes.
I wanna point that out there, like, because I know we're talking about this going into the Drake London side, but, why not give up guys that are 13 to 15 points for a guy who has the ability to average 20 points a game?
Right. Yeah,
So,
you could
eh
definitely make the argument for Jamar Chase and then replace the other wide receiver. You can go get a Cortland Sutton or a DeAndre Hopkins or an Amari Cooper that are averaging, 13 to 14 points per game, relatively cheaply.
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Adam Thielen came out of nowhere. This like you can find those guys every year that you can get for relatively cheap and then just plug them into that other slot that you're missing by doing the 2 for 1.
Yeah.
And then you're coming out positively on the other side as well too. I think this trade is really really good on both sides. If you
Yep.
believe in Drake London, take London and Ayuk. If you don't so much believe in London or don't believe that the all of the Falcons' problems are going to be fixed in 12 months, less than 12 months for Drake London to succeed this year, then just go get Jamar Chase.
Alright, and let's do it. Let's talk about him. Jonnu Smith, everybody.
The big beneficiary of Arthur Smith leaving.
It's like the biggest loser of Arthur Smith leaving. All right,
Probably.
well, him and maybe Tyler Algier. So Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is Kyle Pitts. Man, I don't even know any like he's young, he's very athletic, he's very good. Man, I hope they get someone that can actually throw it within 3 feet of him because that's all he needs. Like he's huge, long arms, very athletic. It's fine. Um, I'm very much looking forward to the Pitts versus Bowers conversations that are gonna be coming up this draft season
Yep.
because we have Brock Bowers coming in, who is like the tight end prospect. And after Kyle Pitts, again, he didn't really fail. He just didn't be Travis Kelsey right
Meet
away.
our expectations immediately.
Yeah, like he didn't come into the league as Travis Kelsey. I wonder what that's going to do to Bowers' value because Bowers is supposedly a better prospect than Pitts was. I don't do that stuff, so I can't really say that definitively, but it's what I've heard. So let's talk Kyle Pitts, who, again, everything we've said before should get better for him. Kyle Pitts, 12-team Superflex. Pitts and Najee Harris for a late first and Keaton Mitchell. Kyle Pitts, 226.5. Najee Harris, 164, total of 390. A late first. Do you have which pick that is, by the way?
109.
All right. The 109, it's late first to 248, and Keaton Mitchell, 84, total of 332. This is pretty easily the Kyle Pitts side to me. Like, I'm taking Pitts over that pick, and I'd rather have Najee Harris over Keaton Mitchell. Like,
Yeah.
the idea of Keaton Mitchell is fun, but he's also, I can't remember, undrafted or really late drafted. I can't remember anymore.
Undrafted.
Yeah, undrafted running back who's definitely flashed his speed, but it's not like a
And
good
torn ACL.
player. What?
He tore his ACL too.
Yeah, and it's not like he's going to need time to recover. If a running back comes in and does well, it's not like, oh, Keaton Mitchell's back. We got to take this guy doing well off the field. Like, it's not really that kind of situation. So, like, to me, this is pretty easily the Pitt side. Like, this is one of those. If you like Kyle Pitts, you can probably get a decent deal for him. And this is a more than decent deal. And the same, I guess, can be, transitive property of dynasty value can be said for Najee Harris right here. He didn't have that bad of a season once you take Matt Canada out of the picture.
Yeah.
And that was with Mitch Trubisky and Mason Rudolph at quarterback. Well, I mean, Kenny Pickett's going to come back and be the quarterback, so I don't really know if that's an upgrade or not. I don't know. Probably Steelers hang on to things for way too long.
The fact that they're sticking with Rudolph for the playoffs this week. I don't know how you go back to Kenny Pickett after saying, "No, we're not going to give you the keys to the playoff game, but you're going to be the starter moving forward." I just don't know how that the optics on that are terrible.
Maybe they'll trade for Zach Wilson. Who knows? But still, like, to me, like, this is very cheap for both of these players, and I say it's really pretty easily the player side to me.
I would take the player side on this one as well too. If I think it would feel awkward, like if that was your first round pick and you came in fourth place, and you're like, "All right, we need to do something to vault me up into getting in the championship next year because my team is good everywhere else." And it might feel weird just be like, all right, the upgrades that I made with that pick are Najee Harris and Kyle Pitts. Like that might not sound like the best of moves to make for a very replaceable potential RB2 and a tight end that has also been very replaceable for the large majority of his career.
One of those guys.
Hopefully one of them does well. And hopefully it's Kyle Pitts who can turn into more of a difference maker like we've seen other young tight ends be able to do, like Laporta and McBride and Kincaid for flashes and games and stuff too. Yeah, I would take Kyle Pitts and Najee Harris, but I get if this trade's just like, nah, I just honestly would rather have the first round pick.
All right, so let's move on to the next one, which is another move. One of these things, like we said before, like maybe you're not into the idea that Pitts is going to elevate to the next level. You have him on your team. You have Christian Watson on your team who might not elevate to that next level. Christian Watson and Kyle Pitts for Sam Laporta. Christian Watson, exactly 240. Kyle Pitts, 227. Total of 466. I'll round up anyway because that felt weird. 467. Sam Laporta, 599.4. Just give me Sam Laporta. Like, if I believed in Christian Watson, if I believed that Kyle Pitts could elevate to, like, I'm not even talking like last year Travis Kelce or prime Mark Andrews, but like 2 years ago Hawk, where he was like, or Goddard, like that top of that second tier. Like, I need, like, if you could, Pitts would have to be that for me to not want to make this move. And I don't think that's going to happen right away. Like but honestly, like I believe little enough in Christian Watson that I'd be like, all right, whatever. I'll do, because Christian Watson's worth a late first in the analyzer. He's not worth a first to me.
No, I don't. That is, the values on this are insane. He's not Christian. I've all but written Christian Watson off, which might not be smart to do, but like I feel the same way I do about him as I do Jameson Williams or Jerry Jeudy or Gabe Davis. I'm just like, he is there. Maybe he gives you a game if you really need to swing for the fences, but like, for all intents and purposes, he could be the wide receiver 4 in Green Bay next year. Like, there could be 3 wide receivers better than him on the team right now.
He would be great in best ball.
Oh, you hit him with the he would be great in best ball archetype.
Yes. Yeah. Jaden Reed, love it. Dontavian Wicks was showing up towards the end of the season once he got healthy. Like,
Dobbs just might be a more consistent option.
And well, Dobbs is very different. Dobbs to me is more of that like possession underneath receiver than
right
Watson, who just runs fast and far.
Right. Like, I just feel like Watson is just, I don't want to say he lost his job because of what Reed and Wicks were doing this year, but I mean, it's going to be really hard to have
volume.
Yeah. I don't know how you have all 4 of those guys out there, plus Luke Musgrave and or Tucker Kraft.
And Aaron Jones. Kraft was doing really well.
They have so many good options that it doesn't feel like Christian Watson has made himself be a necessity to play on 80 to 90% of snaps. With that being the case, I just want Sam Laporta. This is so easily Sam Laporta. I don't get this trade in reverse. I don't know why you would trade Sam Laporta for Pitts and Watson. If you're hoping that Kyle Pitts turns into the player that we thought he was how much different is that than what Sam Laporta has already just done? You know,
Yeah.
like
You'd have to be full believers in both of those players and get very lucky that they both do what you want them to do.
Or you could just have a boat.
All right. So, I mean, technically that was the end of the players to talk about, but we had a trade in the Watcher League that Addison and I won, by the way.
No flex whatsoever, but a little bit of a flex.
Just yawning a little bit.
Was that the best thing that happened to you over the past week or two? Us winning the Watcher League?
Literally nothing else good happened over the past 2 weeks. Nothing.
Is that just your ego deflating yourself, or
nothing great happened? I wasn't in Disney World the past week, and while I was not in Animal Kingdom sitting waiting for my kids to get off a ride, someone definitely didn't walk up to me with the Dynasty trade show, paused on their phone saying, "Hey, are you Dynasty Outhouse?" And I didn't just geek the hell out all over that guy at all.
You're living every fantasy analyst's dream.
What's really funny is I had one of, I mean, it's weird. Like, you know, first of all, shout out Adam for that Adam Glane was the guy who came and said hi to me. She started as she's practically a family member at this point, like, you know, but she was sitting next to me. She makes fun of me. She tells everybody I'm famous on the internet. And I'm like, so like, she literally just pulled her like, and like made it so much more dramatic than it really was. But it was, yeah, no, diva mode was activated. I was walking around with my collar popped the rest of the day and sunglasses on, big floppy hat so no one else could recognize me, you know, and nobody could look me in the eyes.
Walk your kids to the front of the line, and when people start complaining, be like, "Do you know who I am?" Do you know? You don't know. So let me educate you.
I'm on a podcast.
On YouTube. Oh my God.
So all of this, whatever aside, the trade we have, 12-team Superflex, tight end premium, Jamar Chase and a 25 third for Zay Flowers, Russell Wilson, the 109 and a 25 first. At the time, we didn't know it was a 109, but we knew it was a playoff first, just to put it in a little bit of context. Jamar Chase, 859, the 25 third, 36 for a total of 895. Zay Flowers, 373, 25 first, 254, 24 late first, 219. Russell Wilson, 207 for a total of 1052. So, I mean, we're talking 150 points in between. Like, you're getting half a lineup for Jamar Chase, but I don't feel like it's a great half a lineup. You know, at 109, we're probably talking wide receiver 4 or QB 4, or, man, I hope it's not running back 1 yet, because the running back 1 isn't going to be great this year. Like,
the Braylon Allen disrespect.
Sure. Zay Flowers did really, really well when Mark Andrews was out, but he became a little non-existent during, like, after the first couple of games. Zay Flowers disappeared a bit. I think he's good. I think he's solid. I don't think he'll really be a top 12 wide receiver or anything. Russell Wilson will be a replaceable QB2, depending on where he lands, honestly, because clearly he's not going to be in Denver anymore. I don't know how, like, I get it. Like, if you're rebuilding, you get Zay Flowers and 2 firsts for Jamar Chase, which, when you say it like that out loud, doesn't sound bad. But when it's a wide receiver 2, a 25 first, and a late 24 first, it starts to feel a little year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't get me wrong, you got good pieces. You're going to be able to move 3 out of 4 of those anytime you want in the non-point scoring season. And the second points start coming on the board, not even. The second people start wanting to set their lineups in like July or August, you'll be able to move Russell Wilson. Or the second he signs somewhere that is good for him. anywhere, really. It's Russell Wilson. He's good, regardless of whatever just happened in Denver. So, like, you'll be able to move those pieces, sure. And at least this is a 24-person league, so you'll have 23 other people to try and go make a move with, so the pool is a lot bigger and nicer. But maybe I just don't want to break Ja'Marr Chase into 4 pieces, and that's what I'm stuck at.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is easily Ja'Marr Chase for me. Because like you said, like the pieces just don't feel like there's no one individual piece here that really makes me super excited. Like I like Zay Flowers, I like first round picks. I like having a quarterback who could be a solid QB2, you know, that acts as your QB3, but you can plug them in whenever you want, kind of thing as a streamer. I like all those pieces individually. I just don't like them all whenever they are all packaged together for Ja'Marr Chase. This is like similar to the very first trade we had where it was Bijan for Goff, DJ Moore, and Rashad White. Like it was just like it's nice. The packaging is nice, but it just doesn't feel like you're getting enough firepower for the firepower that is Ja'Marr Chase, you know?
Yeah, like if we took out the 25 first and Zay Flowers, and that was like Devonta.
Yeah, I'd probably feel better about it.
Jalen Waddle.
Yeah.
Whose value is getting way too low by now, by the way.
Or Olave or somebody like that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that might be getting a little too high, but like, yeah, like that's really what it is. Again, like it's that small thing of like, it's just, it might be too many pieces. But again, like if this is your jam, calculator says it's fine. You know, like the analyzer's just like, yeah, sure. That's a lot of value right there. And again, in a league that should have a lot of trades because it's a trade show league, that might be good. That might be the move. But personally, it's Ja'Marr.
I threw the I don't turn the package adjustment on, but if you're interested in that, there is a package adjustment button on the analyzer that accounts for big, massive trades like this. And it knocks 75 points off. So this turns into 977 to 894. And then if you if you wanted to just remove the 25 third, because who really cares about the 25 third? Then the package adjustment for a 4-for-1 would be 910 to 860. So then that is cutting it way closer to with that package adjustment on there too.
Yeah, and I want to point out that this was done after the fantasy season. So, you know, like replacing Ja'Marr Chase's production for a week in the playoffs wasn't part of it. Because I know that could also come into deals. Like I tried to sell Jalen Waddle in in a championship game because I needed the points. And I got rejected trying to send Jalen Waddle straight up for Puka Nacua, saying that they liked Puka straight up more than Jalen Waddle.
As do I.
I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready to hear it.
Well, sorry, buddy.
Well, on that note, it's the DLF trade show. It is the DLF trade show on the DLF YouTube channel. Russ Fisher at Dynasty Outhouse, Addison Hayes at Amaze Hayes _. We'll catch you next time.